Close your eyes, dear listener. Tonight, we drift into the forgotten echoes of time, where sacred cults whispered their prayers to the divine women who held the mysteries of life, death, and rebirth. These were not goddesses of thunder and war, but gentle mothers, radiant maidens, and wise priestesses whose presence carried comfort through the ages. As you rest, we will wander softly through 3 hours of ancient symbols and stories. Each chapter, a lantern, guiding you through dreamlike temples, moonlit deserts, and star-filled sanctuaries where the sacred feminine once reigned. Their symbols still speak to us, even if the voices of their followers have long been silenced. If this journey soothes your heart, feel free to subscribe for more sleep stories. And if your eyes are still open, whisper in the comments where in the world you're listening from. Night falls gently. The horizon softens. A silver light rises, round and patient, carrying her glow across the darkened sky. The moon has always been a mother to wandering hearts. She has watched villages sleep, oceans breathe, and forests sway in silence. Her face changes, yet she always returns. In the stillness of ancient nights, long before cities and stone roads, people gathered beneath her light. They saw her as a mother, as a guide, as the keeper of time itself. The earliest cults of the divine feminine looked upward when the world grew dark. The moon was not just a light. She was a presence. She measured the days, the months, the seasons. She marked the flow of waters, the rise of tides, the rhythm of fertility, the cycles of birth and return. Imagine those nights, long ago, fires flickering at the edge of small camps, the scent of earth and smoke filling the air, women tracing circles in the dust to mirror the moon's curve. Their voices rose in songs both gentle and steady, weaving prayers into the night air. Their songs were not rushed. They flowed like water. They were offerings to the moon mothers, who watched from above with soft and silver eyes. The moonlit mothers were many. Some cultures spoke of them as maidens, glowing with youth and promise. Others saw them as wise women, protectors of birth, guardians of harvest, healers of the sick. Their faces were different, but their meaning was the same. The moon was a mother. Her presence gave comfort when the night seemed endless. Her cycle promised that nothing ever truly disappeared. Everything returned in time. For ancient people, the moon was a calendar. She carried the rhythm of the earth in her phases. The dark moon was a time for stillness and rest. The waxing moon brought growth and hope. The full moon shone with fullness, abundance, and blessing. The waning moon spoke of letting go, of endings that prepared the way for beginnings. Each phase was a message, each glow a reminder. Picture a quiet village under the stars. The women rise at night, gathering by a stream. Their hands dip into the cool water, reflecting the moon's silver face. They whisper prayers to her, asking for fertility, for healthy children, for protection from harm. The sound of water joins the rhythm of their voices. The night carries both into the sky, where the moon mothers listen. The moon was also tied to mystery. She was never fully seen at once, always changing, always moving. Her light belonged to both shadow and clarity. To worship her was to accept the hidden and the known. Life itself was mirrored in her phases, growing, fading, returning. In caves deep within the earth, people painted circles on stone walls. Some were simple, some carried marks of phases. These were not idle decorations. They were records of devotion, signs of reverence for the moon mothers who guided both animals and humans alike. The moon was not only above, it lived in their stories, their hands, their rituals. The moonlit mothers taught people patience. The waxing moon taught them to wait for growth. The waning moon taught them to release. The dark moon taught them to trust the unseen. The full moon taught them to celebrate life's completeness. Every part of her cycle was sacred, every stage of her light a lesson. Listen now to the silence between the stars. Feel how the air slows when the moon shines. This was how the ancients listened to her. They stood in fields, in deserts, in forests. They did not rush her. They watched, and in watching, they felt part of something greater. The moon connected their hearts to the sky, and through her to the divine women who cared for them. In Greece, they whispered of Selene, who drove her silver chariot across the night. In Mesopotamia, they spoke of Nana and Ningal, the father and mother of the moon, though it was the feminine who wrapped the night in comfort. In Egypt, the lunar rhythms were tied to fertility, guiding women's cycles, marking sacred festivals. In each land, the moon was more than stone and shadow. She was life, and she was mother. But the moonlit mothers were not only celestial, They were present in the bodies and lives of women. Each month, the rhythms of the moon reflected the rhythms within. This harmony was sacred. It connected human life to cosmic order. It reminded people that life was woven into the stars themselves. Imagine the sound of drums. Slow, deep, steady. Each beat like a heartbeat beneath the night sky. Women dance in circles, arms lifted toward the moon. Their shadows stretch across the earth, swaying like tall grasses in the wind. Their dance is not for performance. It is for memory, for gratitude, for communion with the moon mothers. The circle itself was sacred. The round moon, the round drum, the round dance, the round womb, all reflected the same truth. Life moves in circles, never ending, always returning. The moonlit mothers held that circle with gentle, steady hands. There is a tenderness in moonlight. It does not burn like the sun. It caresses. It soothes. It turns sharp edges into soft outlines. It transforms fear into calm. This tenderness was the essence of the moonlit mothers. They were not distant gods of thunder and fire. They were near, close, protective, like a mother's hand brushing across a child's brow. The moon was also a guide for journeys. Travelers crossed deserts by her light. Sailors followed her glow on open seas. Farmers planted by her timing. Hunters moved by her shadows. She was not only spiritual comfort, she was practical care. The moonlit mothers gave safety to those who walked in darkness. In some traditions, women who served as priestesses of the moon wore white robes. They carried silver bowls filled with water, reflecting the night sky. They lit lamps with oils that glowed softly, mirroring the moon's radiance. Their rituals were not grand spectacles. They were whispers, small gestures of devotion, quiet enough to match the stillness of night. Their voices rose in chant, low, steady, soothing, words simple enough for any heart to understand. Words that asked for health, for food, for safe births, for gentle passing of the dead. The moon oversaw all of it: birth, life, death, and return. The moonlit mothers never left their children in darkness. Close your eyes and imagine the sky, endless above. The moon glows, surrounded by stars like scattered seeds. Beneath her, a woman stands at the edge of a river. She lifts her hands. She feels the water against her skin, the moonlight on her face. She knows she is not alone. She knows the moon mothers are watching. This feeling is peace. Time moved, centuries passed. Empires rose and fell. Yet the moon remained, always circling, always present. Her mothers remained in memory, carried through stories, rituals, and symbols. Even when their cults faded, the moon continued to whisper her truth. Everything returns. Everything is held. Nothing is lost forever. And now, as you rest beneath your own night sky, the moonlit mothers still shine. Their glow touches oceans, mountains, forests, and cities. It touches your window. It falls across your bed. It enters your dreams. You are safe under her light. You are guided by her rhythm. Your breath rises and falls like the tide. Your spirit drifts like silver clouds across her glow. She is ancient and she is near. So let the moon cradle you. Let the mothers of old watch over you. Let their soft silver arms hold you through the night. Now rest as the stars return. Now drift as the moonlight deepens. Now sleep under the care of the moonlit mothers. The night continues. Soft stars shimmer, scattered like pearls across the sky. A quiet wind drifts through olive trees, carrying the fragrance of earth and sea. The waves of the Aegean rest against the shores of Crete, their rhythm steady and timeless. Here, in this island cradle of ancient mystery, sacred women once raised their hands to the moon and the soil, holding serpents that glided like rivers of living light. They were known as the serpent priestesses, women who carried snakes not as creatures of fear, but as sacred symbols of wisdom, renewal, and the eternal cycle of life. In their hands, serpents were guardians. In their gaze, serpents were teachers. And in their rituals, serpents became bridges between earth and spirit. Imagine a temple courtyard in Minoan Crete. The air is warm with the glow of oil lamps. Flames flicker softly against painted walls, where murals show women with flowing skirts and bare arms, standing tall, serpents winding through their fingers. The people watch in silence, for these women embody something larger than themselves. They embody mystery. They embody the eternal circle of death and rebirth. In their open hands, the serpents coil. Their scales catch the light, shimmering like streams of water under the moon. The priestesses lift them high, not to threaten, but to honor. Every movement is slow, deliberate, like the sway of grass in the wind. The serpents rest calmly, as if they know they are home in these hands. The serpent was never only an animal. It was a sign of the hidden wisdom of the earth. It shed its skin, leaving the old behind, stepping into the new. Each shedding was a rebirth, a gentle lesson whispered to those who observed. Nothing is final. Nothing ends. Life folds into life endlessly. The priestesses carried this truth in their ceremonies. For the people of Crete, the serpent also symbolized the presence of the goddess. She was the mother of fertility, of crops that sprouted each spring, of animals that gave milk, of women who gave birth. The serpent, curling and uncoiling, mirrored the spiral of life itself, the same spiral carved into stones, the same spiral drawn in clay vessels, the same spiral that lives within seashells found on the island's shores. Picture the sacred chamber of a temple. The walls glow with soft torchlight. Offerings of honey, wine, and flowers are laid at an altar. A serpent slithers across the floor, unhurried, and the priestess kneels to let it climb her arm. She lifts it, whispering words like wind, words that the earth alone seems to understand. The people watch from the doorway. Their breath slows. Their hearts soften, for in that moment, the priestess does not stand as one woman. She stands as a channel of the goddess herself, the eternal mother, the keeper of wisdom. The serpent priestesses also carried a message of protection. In ancient times, the serpent was seen as a guardian of homes and temples. It kept away harm, for its presence was powerful, its movements unpredictable. Statues of goddesses holding serpents were placed in sacred spaces, reminding people that they were never alone in their nights. The goddess, through the serpent, watched over them. Some believe the serpents carried the spirit of ancestors. Others saw them as messengers from the underworld, rising from hidden places to connect the living with the unseen. In both visions, the serpent was never separate. It was part of the cycle, part of the breath of life that linked generations together. Now imagine walking through the countryside of Crete under moonlight. The earth smells of wild thyme and fresh soil. In the distance, faint drums echo. The sound is steady, deep, calming. As you draw near, you see women dancing in circles. Their skirts flare as they turn, their arms raised, serpents twining in their hands. Their voices hum low, a chant that seems to rise from the ground itself. The dance is not hurried. Each step is measured. Each movement reflects the circle of life, the cycle of birth, death, and return. The serpents, calm and glistening, sway with them, symbols of the hidden wisdom beneath the soil, beneath the skin, beneath the surface of all things. The people who gather do not fear. They feel peace. They feel the assurance that life continues, that endings are only beginnings in disguise. The priestesses of the serpent were also healers. They understood herbs, roots, and waters. They used serpent symbols to draw sickness out, to restore balance. They saw the body as part of nature's circle, never separate, always woven into the greater flow. Healing was not conquest, it was harmony. The serpent, curling around staff or arm, represented the movement of life force itself. When the sick were laid upon woven mats, the priestesses chanted gently, their voices soft as wind through reeds. They carried small serpents, letting their presence calm and reassure. In this sacred rhythm, healing was not only physical, it was spiritual, emotional, and cosmic. The serpent reminded the people, renewal is always possible. The mythology of serpents stretched far beyond Crete. But here, in this land of blue seas and mountain caves, the serpent priestess remained a central figure. She carried forward a truth, that wisdom often hides in the shadows, and that rebirth comes after every shedding of skin. Her presence was both earthly and celestial. She stood on stone floors, feet grounded in soil, yet her arms lifted serpents toward the sky. She was the bridge between worlds, between above and below, between what was seen and what was hidden. Feel now the slow rhythm of her world, the flicker of lamps, the hush of night, the cool scales gliding across skin like flowing water, the gentle chant of voices circling beneath the stars. This was the world of the serpent priestesses. Not loud, not forceful, but eternal. They moved with the patience of cycles, the certainty of seasons, the wisdom of earth itself. And as you drift, imagine their calm faces, their steady hands, their gentle eyes. They remind you that life is a circle, that every loss brings renewal, that every darkness is followed by light. The serpents curl into rest. The fires burn lower. The priestesses return to silence. The people leave offerings at the altars, then walk softly back to their homes. Above the moon shines, carrying the same glow that blessed the rituals of the night. The sea continues to breathe, steady and endless. Now your own breath mirrors theirs. Slow, calm, eternal. The spirit of the serpent priestesses watches still, holding you in the circle of protection, wisdom, and renewal. Let us drift onward, deeper into the night. Let the serpents coil into stillness. Let your body shed its burdens like old skin slipping away. Now rest as the stars return. Now sleep, under the gaze of the serpent priestesses. The night lingers gently. The stars shine like quiet fires scattered far above. A calm breeze brushes the fields, carrying the scent of soil and ripe grain. In the distance, the faint hum of insects rises and falls like the breath of the earth itself. It is harvest time. The land is golden, the stalks heavy, bowing to the weight of life. In this golden silence, the sacred presence of Demeter can be felt. She is the mother of the fields, the giver of grain, the nourisher of humankind. To her daughters and priestesses, she entrusted the care of the harvest, the tending of rituals, and the deep remembering that life, though fragile, always renews. Beside her stands Persephone, her beloved child, the maiden of flowers, the queen of shadows. Together, mother and daughter hold the story of the seasons. Their myth is not only told, but lived in every field, in every seed, in every cycle of growth and rest. And in their honor, the daughters of the grain, women devoted to their mysteries, offered songs, prayers, and rites that shaped the spirit of ancient Greece. Imagine a hillside near Eleusis, under a moonlit sky. Torches glow in the darkness, their flames steady in the cool wind. Pilgrims walk slowly, carrying bundles of wheat, jugs of water, and small offerings. Their footsteps are hushed, for they approach a mystery greater than themselves. The priestesses, dressed in flowing robes, stand waiting. Their eyes reflect the torchlight, calm and steady, like wells of ancient memory. The daughters of the grain guide the people inward, deeper into sacred silence. Their voices rise, soft and measured, chanting hymns to Demeter and Persephone. Each note drifts upward like smoke, vanishing into the night air, yet leaving behind a sense of peace. The sound is not hurried. It is like the steady rhythm of harvest, patient, certain, eternal. The story they honor is one of love and loss, of descent and return. Persephone, the maiden, once gathered flowers in the bright fields. Her laughter filled the air, light as birdsong. But the earth opened, and Hades, the lord of shadows, carried her into his realm. The fields grew barren. Demeter's grief spread across the world. Crops withered. The ground grew cold, yet nothing remains lost forever. Persephone returned each spring, her steps bringing blossoms, her smile awakening seeds. Each year she descended, and each year she rose again. This was the rhythm of the earth, the winter of stillness, the spring of renewal, the summer of abundance, the autumn of gathering. Through Persephone, the people learned that death and life are bound together, woven into one eternal fabric. The daughters of the grain carried this truth in their ceremonies. They reminded the people that even in grief, renewal waits. Even in loss, life returns. Their rituals were lanterns for the soul, lights in the darkness, guiding hearts toward hope. Picture a sacred gathering during harvest. The fields are heavy with grain. The air carries the smell of earth, ripe and sweet. The priestesses walk slowly between the stalks, their hands brushing the golden heads. They gather bundles, tying them with soft cords. Each bundle is an offering, a gift to Demeter, a prayer of gratitude for nourishment and survival. In the temple, the bundles are laid upon the altar. Bowls of water, oil, and honey surround them. Candles glow, casting gentle light upon carved images of mother and daughter. The priestesses bow their heads. Their voices rise in low chants, steady and soothing, words flowing like water down a mountainside. The grain is more than food.
It is a promise.
A seed planted in dark soil disappears, only to rise again with the sun. It is a symbol of life after stillness, of renewal after loss. The priestesses remind the people, the seed's journey is our journey. We too descend, we too return. In Eleusis, the mysteries of Demeter and Persephone were kept in sacred secrecy. The daughters of the grain guided initiates through rituals that spoke of death and rebirth, of sorrow and joy. No word of these rites was shared outside the temple walls, yet all who took part carried peace within their hearts, for they had touched the eternal rhythm. They had felt the embrace of the mother and the promise of the daughter. The mysteries did not frighten, they soothed. They whispered, "There is no final end. Life rests like a seed in winter soil, but it stirs again when the season is right." The priestesses held torches, their flames steady in the dark. They guided the seekers through silence, through prayer, through shadow and light. In their hands, the torches became stars on earth, small suns that lit the path of the soul. Imagine yourself among them. You walk through stone corridors lit only by soft flames. The air smells of grain and oil. The sound of chants surrounds you, low and calming. The daughters of the grain move slowly ahead, their robes flowing like rivers of night. Each step feels timeless, as though you walk both in the present and in a memory carried by countless generations. At the end of the passage, you step into a wide chamber. The floor is covered with grain. Torches glow on the walls. At the center, a great vessel holds water. The priestesses stand around it, their hands raised, their eyes closed. They sing of Persephone's descent and her return. Their voices echo like wind moving through hollow stones, carrying both sorrow and hope. The daughters of the grain were more than keepers of ritual. They were guardians of the earth's rhythm. They knew when to plant, when to harvest, when to let the soil rest. They watched the stars, listened to the winds, felt the pulse of the land beneath their feet. Their wisdom was quiet, but it guided entire communities. To watch them work was to see devotion woven into daily life. They did not separate the sacred from the ordinary. Every loaf of bread, every bowl of grain, every seed planted was an act of reverence. The temple and the field were one. The people trusted them, for they spoke not with power, but with care. Their presence was steady, like the seasons. Their faith was simple, like the seed. Their hope was endless, like the turning of the earth. Now let the sound of their chants carry you, low, soft, eternal, like the hum of bees in summer fields, like the rustle of wind in tall stalks of grain. Their voices rise, then fall. They circle, they echo, they fade into silence. Feel the earth beneath your body, solid and generous. Feel the air move gently, carrying the warmth of life. The story of Demeter and Persephone, of loss and return, is also the story of your breath. Inhale, and there is fullness. Exhale, and there is release. The cycle continues always. The night deepens. The torches burn lower. The offerings rest on the altar, their fragrance mingling with the scent of grain. The priestesses bow their heads, their chants dissolving into silence. Outside, the fields lie still, glowing softly beneath the moon. The earth is calm. The seeds sleep, and you too may rest now. Rest as a seed rests in the soil. Rest as the fields rest after harvest. Rest, knowing that all things return in their time. Let us drift onward, carried by the gentle rhythm of grain and star. Let the mother and daughter guard your dreams. Now rest as the stars return. The night is deep and still. The stars gather in quiet clusters, their light like silver dust upon the dark sky. A cool wind moves across the ancient hills of Anatolia, whispering over stone and grass, carrying with it the faint smell of pine and earth. In the distance, the shape of mountains rises like great sleeping figures, their shadows wrapped in the softness of moonlight. Here, in this land of peaks and valleys, the people once lifted their hearts to the mother of all. She was called by many names. To some, she was the mountain mother. To others, she was Cybele, the veiled one, the guardian of life's wild pulse. Her temples stood on high places carved into rock and hidden in caves. Yet her truest shrine was always the earth itself, the cliffs, the forests, the rolling fields where flocks grazed and rivers sang. The people felt her in the tremble of the ground, in the rush of storm winds, in the stillness after rain. They said the mountains were her throne, the caves her chambers, and the roaring of lions her breath. To honor her was to honor the living world, fierce and tender, untamed yet sheltering. Imagine the flicker of torches at the entrance of a cave. A circle of worshippers stands, their robes pale against the night. Their heads are bowed, their hands lifted with offerings, bowls of milk, loaves of bread, jars of honey. The air is filled with the low sound of drums, steady as a heartbeat. Each note travels into the rock, echoing through hidden chambers. The priestesses of Cybele, the veiled mothers, lead the song. Their voices rise in long, flowing tones, like streams winding down a mountainside. They sing of the goddess who is both shelter and storm, both giver and taker, both womb and tomb. Their hymns are soft but strong, filled with reverence. Around them, the wild joins the prayer. The rustle of trees sways with the rhythm. The call of an owl echoes through the dark. Even the silence between sounds feels alive, as though the goddess herself listens. Cybele's story is older than memory. She was the mother before there were cities, before there were temples of marble and stone. In the first villages, when people still lived close to caves and mountainsides, her figure was carved in clay. Round, full, nurturing, yet powerful. She was the earth made flesh, the endless cycle of birth, growth, death, and return. As ages passed, her worship spread. Kings and farmers alike sought her blessing. Her priestesses carried her rites across Anatolia and beyond to the lands of Greece and Rome. Yet here, in her mountains, she remained veiled in mystery. Her face was hidden, for no one could see the fullness of the mother and live unchanged. To the people, her veil was not concealment, but protection. It was the soft covering of night over the fields, the mist that hides peaks at dawn, the shadow of caves that shelters from the sun. The veil reminded them that the deepest truths are not grasped by eyes, but by silence and surrender. In her honor, offerings of song and dance were given. The sound of drums grew faster, like the pulse of the earth itself. Flutes joined, their voices thin and high, weaving through the night air. The priestesses moved with flowing steps, their arms lifted, their veils drifting like clouds across the moon. Their dance was not meant for spectacle, but for union, with one another, with the land, with the goddess who held them all. Sometimes the rhythm grew wild, echoing storms and quakes, the fierce side of the mother. Other times it slowed into stillness, echoing the quiet of caves where water drips and time seems endless. Always, the music circled back to calm as the heart does after beating fast, as storms do when they pass. The veiled mothers taught that every mountain was her body, every spring was her gift, every animal was her child. To harm the land was to wound her. To share bread was to honor her abundance. Their lessons were simple, yet they carried the strength of stone. The people learned to live with the seasons, to sow in patience, to reap in gratitude, to rest when the land rested. In times of hardship, they gathered at her shrines, seeking comfort in the thought that the mother's arms never closed, even in loss and when death came, as it must to all. Her priestesses whispered that the mother still held the soul. Just as seeds vanish into soil only to rise again in spring, so too did human life sink into the dark and return in its own season. To believe this was to sleep with less fear, to rest knowing that the earth was also cradle. Picture a ceremony at dawn. The sky is painted with the first pale light. The mountains glow softly, their peaks touched with rose and gold. The priestesses climb the rocky path carrying baskets of flowers. Their veils shimmer with dew. They walk slowly, their feet brushing the earth as though each step were a blessing. At the mountaintop, they scatter the flowers to the wind. Petals drift downward, carried over cliffs and valleys, falling like gentle rain. This was their way of offering beauty back to the mother, whose beauty was beyond measure. They stand in silence, watching the petals vanish into the wide world, trusting that every gift returns in some form, seen or unseen. The breeze carries their prayers. The mountains hold their echoes, and the earth remains steady beneath them, timeless in its embrace. The veiled mothers also told of lions, sacred to Cybele. Strong, fierce, untamed, they walked at her side. Their roar was the thunder of the mountains, their eyes the fire of the sun. Yet even in their power, they were her children. They bowed to her will, resting at her feet as cubs do at the side of a mother. To the people, the lions were reminders that strength is not opposed to tenderness. The mother was both fierce and gentle, both protector and destroyer. Life itself carried both faces, yet in her presence there was harmony. To honor her was to accept both, the calm stream and the storm, the blooming flower and the falling leaf. Now the night deepens again. The drums fade to silence. The torches burn low, their smoke curling softly into the cool air. The priestesses bow their heads, their veils hiding faces that shine with devotion. Around them the hills lie quiet, the earth breathing in long, steady rhythms. The goddess remains unseen, yet her presence is everywhere. In the stones beneath their feet, in the wind that brushes their veils, in the stars that look down with silent fire, and in this silence, the heart grows calm. The breath deepens, the body softens into rest. The story of Cybele, the veiled mother, is not only of the past. It is the story of the earth itself, which still shelters, still gives, still holds all life in her vast embrace. It is the story of night and morning, of loss and return, of endings that open into beginnings. As the listener lies beneath the stars, as eyes grow heavy and dreams approach, the song of the veiled mothers drifts near. Their voices are soft, like wind through pine, like water in hidden caves. They sing not to stir, but to soothe. They sing not to call forth, but to lull into peace. Their hymn is simple. All things belong. All things are held. All things return to the mother. The mountains rest. The fields rest. The soul too may rest. Let the veiled mothers keep watch in the shadows. Let the goddess cradle you in her unseen arms. Let the night carry you gently onward, deeper into stillness. Now drift as the stars return. Drift as the torches fade. Drift as the mother holds the world in quiet sleep. The desert is quiet tonight. Its sands stretch far and endless, silvered by moonlight, cool beneath the breath of the wind. The stars shine above like 1,000 watchful eyes, steady and calm, unblinking across the wide heavens. In the hush of this ancient land, the heart slows. The air carries the faint perfume of myrrh and smoke from distant fires, rising like prayers into the night sky. It is here, among the dunes and rivers of old Mesopotamia, that the maidens of the stars once walked. They were daughters of Ishtar, the great goddess of love and war, of birth and death, of the morning star and the evening glow. She was the goddess who rose with Venus, shining bright at dawn, and who lingered again at dusk, guiding those who looked upward with hope or sorrow. The women who served her were radiant, like stars themselves. Draped in flowing robes, adorned with beads of lapis and gold, they walked into the temples with grace that seemed not of this world. They were known not only for beauty, but for presence, the stillness of eyes that carried both tenderness and power. Like the goddess they embodied, the temple of Ishtar rose high, its walls of mud brick glowing soft under starlight. Along its terraces, torches flickered, their flames bending in the desert wind. At its heart was the sacred chamber, where offerings of bread, wine, and incense were placed before her image, carved in stone, adorned with jewels, her crown a ring of stars. The star maidens entered in silence, their steps soft, their veils trailing like clouds. They brought bowls of dates and honey, jugs of fragrant oil, garlands of desert flowers. The scent filled the chamber, sweet and heady, blending with the smoke of incense. Around them the painted walls told stories, Ishtar's descent into the underworld, her return with new light, her embrace of life's endless rhythm. The women began to sing, their voices rising like wind over sand. Low at first, then higher, the sound carried into the night. Their song was not hurried. It was steady, each note unfolding like petals of a flower at dawn. The melody praised the goddess as star of heaven, as the flame of love, as the one who makes fields fertile and hearts bold. The temple trembled gently with their devotion. The desert held many secrets, and the star maidens knew them well. They understood that the stars above were more than light. They were signs, guides, keepers of fate. In the long nights when caravans crossed the sand, it was the stars that marked the path. In the quiet hours before dawn, it was the stars that comforted the lonely and the lost. To the maidens, Venus was most sacred. The morning star was a promise of new beginning, rising before the sun to banish the dark. The evening star was a promise of rest, lingering after the sun's descent to guide weary eyes. In both, the people saw Ishtar's face, bright, constant, eternal. The maidens wore her star as a symbol, carved in lapis or pressed into clay. Sometimes it shone on their crowns, sometimes hung close to the heart as a pendant. To gaze upon it was to remember, light endures even in the desert's silence. In their rituals they danced, their bodies swayed like the wind, slow and flowing, each movement a prayer. With arms lifted toward the sky, they became bridges between earth and heaven. Their feet traced circles upon the temple floor, marking the endless cycle of day and night, birth and death, beginning and return. The sound of drums guided them, steady as a heartbeat. Each beat echoed across the chamber, sinking deep into the stone. Rattles of bronze and shells joined, shimmering like starlight. The music was both grounding and lifting, like roots in the earth and wings in the sky. Through their dance, the star maidens became more than themselves. They were channels of the goddess, embodiments of her light. Those who watched felt peace, as though the stars themselves had stepped down from the heavens to move gently among them. Their service to Ishtar was not only ritual, but care. They tended the gardens by the riverside, where date palms rose tall and green against the desert's edge. They wove cloth, dyed with colors that caught the eye like jewels. They guided seekers who came to the temple, whispering words of comfort to those broken by loss, singing softly to women in labor, offering water to travelers who had walked long beneath the sun. In this way, their light was not distant but near. Like the stars, they shone quietly, constant companions in the night of life's hardships. Each act was an offering, a reflection of their goddess who was both fierce and tender. Legends say that when Ishtar descended into the underworld, the whole world mourned. Crops withered, waters dried, love grew still. Yet when she returned, life bloomed once more. The maidens carried this story like a seed in their hearts. It reminded them that even in times of silence and sorrow, return was always near. Death was never the final word. Morning always followed the longest night. When the people feared famine or war, the maidens told them of the goddess's return. When the people despaired, they pointed to the evening star, shining faithfully in the sky, whispering, "Look, she has not left you." In this, they became more than priestesses. They became keepers of hope. Picture now a quiet night at the temple's high terrace. The desert air is cool, carrying the scent of sand and stone. The star maidens stand together, their veils lifted by the wind. They look upward to the vast heavens where stars shimmer like countless lamps. Their faces glow softly in the starlight. Their voices join in a hymn, unhurried, tender, filled with trust. The hymn rises, then falls into silence. In that silence, the stars seem closer. The desert itself seems to breathe, and the hearts of those gathered are calmed, like a child resting in the arms of a mother. The star maidens remind us that beauty is both fierce and gentle, both radiant and quiet. That the stars are not only distant lights, but companions of the night, guiding, comforting, enduring. They remind us that the goddess's light is never absent, even when clouds cover the sky, even when nights feel long. As the desert sands rest beneath the stars, as the temple torches burn low, so too may the spirit rest. The story of the star maidens does not end, for their song lingers in the wind. Their dance moves still in memory. Their light shines in the sky above. Now the night grows deeper. The stars are steady. The breath of the desert is calm. The maidens stand in silence, guardians of the star-born goddess, daughters of Ishtar, radiant under the endless sky. And you too may rest beneath their light. Let the sands cradle you. Let the stars keep watch. Let the song of the maidens fade into quiet dream. Now drift onward as the night unfolds. Drift as the stars return. Drift as sleep gathers close, gentle and sure. The river waits in silence. Moonlight touches its slow-moving skin, and the water shines like silver silk stretched across the desert's heart. The air is soft, filled with the smell of cool reeds and drifting lotus blossoms. Nightbirds circle above the marshes. A gentle wind moves through the papyrus stalks, carrying the whisper of prayers spoken long ago. You drift beside the Nile. It is not day and not yet dawn. The river exists in its own timeless hour. The sand beyond the banks is still and endless, but here, near the water, life breathes quietly. A single boat, narrow and long, glides without sound. Its hull brushes against water lilies, sending ripples outward like circles of song. Upon the boat sit women robed in white linen, their heads crowned with lotus flowers. They are the bearers of the goddess, priestesses of Isis, of Hathor, and of the many faces of the Divine Mother. They carry music, healing, and blessing into the night. In their hands are small harps, sistra that shimmer when shaken, and baskets of herbs. Their movements are slow, as though each gesture is already a prayer. The moon reflects in their eyes, steady and calm, as though they themselves are part of the river's dream. The Nile has always been a cradle. Its waters gather life, carrying silt, carrying time. Along its banks, temples rise like mountains of stone, and within them, stories are written not with words, but with carved signs and images. The priestesses belong to this story. They are called to walk in rhythm with the river, to bring forward the voices of Isis and Hathor. Isis, the mother who wept for Osiris. She was healer, magician, and keeper of secrets. Her followers learned to bind wounds, to mix medicines, to whisper charms that eased sorrow. The priestesses held her presence in their hands, carrying jars of perfumed oil, pouring it slowly over altars, letting its fragrance fill every chamber. In that scent of lotus and myrrh, those who suffered felt their spirits calm. their breath returned to harmony. Hathor, the Golden One, was joy. She danced with the sound of sistrum bells, her laughter echoing in the halls of temples. The priestesses of Hathor painted their lips with red ochre, not for vanity, but for devotion. They sang, they danced, and through them the heart of the people was lifted. Hathor was the warmth of the sun, the comfort of music, the milk of the cow that nourished both body and soul. And so, these women of the river carried both faces, Isis of the deep night, Hathor of the shining dawn. They were bridges between sorrow and celebration, between stillness and song. The boat drifts closer to the shore. Torches flicker along a temple gate carved with lotus petals and winged suns. The stone glows faintly in the moonlight, each mark telling of endless devotion. As the priestesses step upon the land, their feet make no sound. They move like stars walking across the earth. Inside the temple, the air is heavy with incense. Blue smoke curls upward, winding around tall columns painted with bright green lotus stalks. At the center, a statue of Isis gleams, her arms open, her throne upon her head. Flowers are placed at her feet. Offerings of bread, honey, and figs are set before her. Candles burn softly, their light like resting fireflies. The priestesses kneel. One begins a low chant, her voice flowing like the current of the Nile. Another shakes the sistrum, its bronze discs creating a sound like falling rain. A harp joins, its strings trembling with gentle notes. The music is not for performance, but for union. It is as if the walls of the temple themselves are listening, leaning closer, remembering. The sound spreads outward, through the doors, into the open air, across the water. The night carries it until it touches even the stars. The lotus blossoms are more than flowers. They are symbols of rebirth. They sleep beneath the water at night, hidden in the darkness. But when dawn comes, they rise, opening to the light, white and blue, pink and gold. To the people of Egypt, the lotus was the promise of the sun's return, the reminder that life always renews itself. The priestesses weave the blossoms into garlands. They place them in their hair, and they carry them in their hands as if holding small stars of water and sky. Sometimes the flowers are laid upon the sick, to ease the spirit. Sometimes they are set to float upon the Nile, carrying prayers downstream. Each flower becomes a message, a hope, a breath of peace, given to the river's eternal flow. Imagine the sight. Hundreds of lotus blooms drifting across dark waters, glowing in moonlight as if the river itself is a sky filled with soft constellations. The priestesses watch them pass, their eyes calm, their lips whispering quiet blessings. Long ago, travelers from other lands came to Egypt. They saw these women moving in their sacred work. They wrote of them, though often their words could not capture the stillness, the grace. The truth of the priestesses lived not in records, but in gestures, a hand pressing gently to the heart, a song sung for no audience but the unseen, a flower placed upon still water. They were not queens, they were not warriors, yet their presence was like the foundation of stone temples, silent but everlasting. Wherever the Nile flowed, their devotion flowed with it. The night deepens. The stars grow brighter. The torches along the temple gates begin to fade. The priestesses remain in their circle, their chanting steady, their music soft. One woman holds a vessel of water drawn directly from the Nile. She lifts it high, then pours it slowly upon the ground. The sound is small, but in that sound is an offering. The river returning to the earth returning to the river. The people who gather nearby bow their heads. They breathe deeply, taking in the smoke of incense, the sound of bells, the sight of flowers. For a moment all burdens fall away. For a moment sorrow loosens its grip. The river, the temple, the goddess, the priestesses, the people, all are joined in the same quiet rhythm. Farther down the Nile the reeds sway gently. Crocodiles rest with half-closed eyes. Herons lift into the air, their wings white in the moonlight. The desert, vast and silent, leans close but does not intrude. It is as if the whole land pauses, listening to the song of the lotus bearers. In dreams, the goddess moves among them. She touches the heads of the priestesses. She whispers through the sound of the sistrum. She breathes through the fragrance of the flowers. Her presence is not loud. It is the softness of water against stone, the warmth of dawn against closed eyelids, the steady hand that mends what has been broken. Time drifts slowly, like the Nile itself. One by one, the priestesses lay their instruments aside. The chant softens, becomes a hum, then a silence. The lotus blossoms, once bright in their hands, are placed upon the altar. Smoke curls upward like the last sigh of the night. The goddess remains, her statue still, but her spirit present in every heart. The women rise and step back into the boat. The vessel pushes away, gliding once more upon the silver water. The torches behind them dim until they are only faint stars upon the shore. The priestesses sit in stillness, their reflections shimmering below. The river carries them onward, always onward, as the sky begins to pale with the first breath of dawn. You drift with them. The Nile cradles you as it has cradled countless souls across time. The lotus blossoms float beside the boat, gentle companions for the journey. The music lingers in memory, though no sound is heard. The goddess watches, her presence as calm as the stars above. Now rest as the river flows. Now breathe as the lotus opens. Now sleep as the night folds gently into the light of morning. Let us drift onward. Let us drift in peace. Night rests upon the hills of Rome. The stones are warm still from the day's sun, but the air is cool now, moving gently through olive groves and quiet gardens. The Tiber flows in silence, its surface carrying the reflection of stars. Somewhere in the distance, a wolf's cry echoes across the valley, not fierce, but low and steady, as though she calls not with hunger, but with memory. You drift near these ancient hills. The sound of the river is soft. The breeze is gentle. The earth seems to breathe, waiting, listening. Within this stillness lies an old story, a story carved into Rome's very beginning. The tale of a she-wolf, the mother of a city, the guardian of two small lives who would rise to shape the world. Long ago, when the land was only pasture and woodland, two infants were left beside the river. Their cradle, woven of reeds, floated upon the slow water until it came to rest at the roots of a fig tree. The tree's branches leaned over them, casting shadows like sheltering arms. Alone they would not have survived. But the wilderness itself had prepared a guardian. The she-wolf came. Her fur was dark as midnight. Her eyes glowed with the patience of the earth. She lowered her head and sniffed the air around the children. They did not cry in fear, for something deeper stirred, a recognition. As if their small hearts already knew this was their mother, she bent to them and nursed them, her breath warm, her body strong, her milk their first gift of life. So the story of Rome began not with kings or soldiers, but with the quiet devotion of a wild mother. The she-wolf, or lupa, became the soul of protection, of endurance, of untamed care. Her figure was carved in bronze, painted on walls, whispered in prayers. To many she was not only an animal, but a spirit, half divine, half earthly, who gave the city its first breath. In hidden places of Rome, women honored her. At night, they lit small fires and placed milk in bowls, offerings to the wolf mother. To them she was not only the guardian of founders, but also a shadowed goddess of fertility, of wild strength, of the deep instincts that bind mother to child. Beneath the sound of drums, they chanted her name. Their voices rose like the wind through pines, fierce yet tender, wild yet holy. The she-wolf's temples were not always carved in stone. Sometimes they were caves cool and echoing, where shadows played like spirits upon the walls. Sometimes they were groves, where the smell of pine mixed with the scent of fire. Wherever the cult gathered, the image of the wolf appeared, eyes watching, ears alert, body curved as if to shelter the vulnerable. Yet the soul of Rome was not guarded by the she-wolf alone. At the heart of the city, within the stone embrace of the Forum, another sacred presence watched over the people. Here the Vestal Virgins tended the eternal flame. Their temple was round, a circle without corners, symbol of the sun, the hearth, and the cycle of life. The fire they guarded was no ordinary fire. It was the city's breath. If it ever went out, Rome itself would weaken. The Vestals moved in silence, their white veils flowing like soft clouds, their steps measured and graceful. They fed the flame with sacred wood. They cleaned its altar with care. They carried water in simple vessels, balancing it with practiced ease. Their devotion was lifelong, their vow unbroken. They were chosen as children, taken from their families, brought into the temple where they lived apart. Yet they were not prisoners. They were guardians of something greater, the soul of Rome itself. Their touch blessed treaties. Their presence sanctified rituals. Their prayers were said to be strong enough to sway the gods. Imagine the temple at night. The Forum lies quiet, the columns casting long shadows. The moon drifts above, pale and patient. Inside the circular temple, the flame flickers, golden against the stone. A Vestal kneels before it, feeding it gently. Her face is calm, her eyes reflecting the firelight. She whispers a prayer not for herself, but for the city, for its people, for its future. The air smells of wood smoke and herbs. The sound of burning is soft, like a whispering voice. The warmth touches the walls, the columns, the floor. It is not a loud flame. It is steady, constant, like a heart that never stops. The she-wolf and the Vestals, though different, belong to one story. One is wild, untamed, the mother who protects with tooth and strength. The other is disciplined, sacred, the maiden who protects with fire and vow. Together they shape the balance of Rome, instinct and order, wilderness and hearth, milk and flame. The city stands between these powers, carried forward by both the wildness of its beginnings and the discipline of its guardians. You walk in dream between them. On one side, the cave of Lupa, dark, cool, filled with the sound of distant dripping water. A small altar rests in the shadows, adorned with carved wolves and bowls of milk. The air is heavy with the scent of earth. You feel the presence of the she-wolf, strong, protective, watching. On the other side, the round temple of the Vestals, bright, warm, filled with the glow of fire. The flame dances in the center, casting light across polished stone. The smell of smoke and herbs hangs in the air. You feel the presence of the maidens, calm, steady, guarding the wolf and the flame, the cave and the temple, the wilderness and the hearth. Both belong to the same breath of Rome. In festivals, the memory of the she-wolf returned. During the Lupercalia, men dressed in skins ran through the streets, carrying strips of hide. Women reached out to be touched by them, believing it brought fertility, brought blessing from the wolf mother. The people laughed, sang, and feasted, their joy echoing through the streets. Beneath the revelry was an older truth. The she-wolf's milk still flowed in Rome's veins. In daily life, the flame of the Vestals burned without pause. Travelers saw its glow and knew the city lived. Children born under its light were thought to carry fortune. Even generals returning from battle bowed before it, acknowledging that no victory was greater than the flame's steady endurance. The night deepens. Stars gather above. The city of Rome sleeps, but its guardians remain. In a cave, the spirit of the she-wolf watches over the dreams of the land. In the Forum, the Vestals continue their quiet vigil, hands tending the flame with care. Two kinds of mothers keep watch. The wild mother who protects with her body, her milk, her instinct. The sacred mother who protects with her vow, her fire, her patience. Rome breathes between them. Rome dreams between them. Now let yourself drift with this story. Feel the cool cave, safe and dark, where the wolf rests with her young. Feel the warm temple, bright and calm, where the flame never dies. Let their balance hold you. Let their rhythm soothe you. The river still flows. The stars still shine. The flame still burns. The wolf still guards. Now rest as the city rests. Now breathe as the fire breathes. Now sleep as the wolf keeps watch. Let us drift onward. Let us drift into peace. The night opens with a hush. A silver moon drifts above the dark forests of the north, its pale light falling across pine and birch, across moss-soft earth, across streams that move like whispers through the quiet land. The wind carries a cool breath, scented with resin, with damp soil, with the faint sweetness of wildflowers hidden among stones. Here, in the deep woods where shadows stretch long and silence has its own song, sacred stories unfold. They belong not to cities, nor to temples of stone, but to groves, to springs, to fire circles beneath the sky. They are the stories of women who walked as keepers of magic, of love, of grief, and of power too gentle to conquer, yet too strong to vanish. These were the forest maidens of the north. They lived close to the wild earth, yet their voices reached the gods. Their steps traced circles in clearings. Their hands wove threads of fate, and their hearts beat in rhythm with Freya, the goddess of love, of beauty, and of the hidden arts. The forests of the north were more than wood and stone. To those who listened, they were alive. Every tree had a spirit. Every spring had a guardian. Every bird carried a message. To walk among them was to enter a world both visible and unseen. On midsummer nights, when the sun barely dipped below the horizon, the maidens gathered. They crowned their hair with flowers. They painted their hands with herbs. They lit fires that crackled and glowed, sending sparks into the sky as if to remind the stars of their kinship with the earth. Around these flames they sang to Freya. Their voices rose soft and clear, carrying the warmth of longing, of joy, of sorrow, mingled with hope. Freya herself was said to wander with them, sometimes as a falcon, her wings whispering above the treetops, sometimes as a woman, golden-haired, eyes deep as the sea. She carried with her the brisingamen, the shining necklace of desire, glowing like the dawn. Wherever she moved, flowers opened, hearts quickened, and tears fell with equal ease. For love is both bliss and ache, both fullness and loss. The maidens of the forest did not fear sorrow. They knew it as the shadow of love. To them, every tear watered the roots of the world tree, Yggdrasil, feeding its vast branches that reached across all realms. So they did not hide their grief. They sang it, they wove it, they carried it into the fire's light. They believed that to love was to be woven into fate itself, into the endless tapestry spun by the Norns, the three great sisters of destiny. Sometimes the maidens sat by streams and cast threads into the current, watching them drift away. A red thread for passion, a white thread for hope, a black thread for mourning. Each floated downstream, carrying prayer into the hidden realms. In one story told by the elders, the maidens gathered at a spring so pure that even the gods sought its waters. They brought bowls of carved wood and filled them. As the moon rose, they offered the water back to the earth, pouring it gently while whispering blessings. For children yet unborn, for travelers on long roads, for lovers parted by war or distance. The water, touched by prayer, became more than water. It became a promise that life, however fragile, was always renewed. Magic was their gift, though it was not the magic of conquest or command. It was the soft magic of herbs crushed between stones, releasing fragrance into the air. It was the quiet magic of runes carved into wood, symbols that glowed in firelight. It was the tender magic of song, carrying the soul beyond sorrow. They called this art cedar, the weaving of unseen threads. With it they sought visions of what lay hidden. They sought healing for the sick, comfort for the grieving, strength for the weary. The women stood in circles, swaying, their voices blending into a single low chant. Smoke from the fire curled upward, carrying their prayer. Those who listened felt their hearts grow lighter. Their burdens softened as though the forest itself breathed out peace. In their dreams, the forest maidens walked with Freya. They saw her falcon cloak shimmering as she soared through the night sky. They saw her golden chariot drawn by two great cats, their paws silent upon the earth. They saw her tears, falling as drops of amber, shining upon the ground. Freya's tears taught them that even goddesses weep, that beauty and sorrow are threads of the same weave, that love, though fragile, is the most powerful bond in all the realms. When the seasons turned and winter spread its white cloak, the maidens did not fear the silence. They gathered in snow-lit caves where torches glowed against stone walls. They sang slower songs then, songs of rest and waiting. The world slept, but they knew it would wake. Beneath the frost, seeds waited. Beneath the silence, rivers stirred. Beneath the stillness, the goddess listened. Freya was not only the goddess of love, but of magic and of war. Her heart knew both gentleness and fire. She guided warriors to the fields of the afterlife, choosing them with care. Yet she also blessed the maiden who longed for a child, the widow who wept in shadow, the wanderer who sought comfort by the fire. The forest maidens understood this. They lived in her balance, between battle and peace, between desire and grief, between joy and loss. To serve Freya was to embrace all of life, not only the sweetness, but also the sorrow that deepened it. On Midsummer's Eve, the maidens wove wreaths of flowers and cast them upon the rivers. The wreaths drifted slowly, carrying the wishes of the women, for love, for children, for health, for harmony. The river became a book of prayers, flowing toward the sea, where the goddess would gather them like treasures. They told one another, "Every flower is a word, every knot is a spell, every thread is a path. Nothing is lost, all is woven." Now imagine yourself walking into their forest. The air is cool, filled with the scent of pine and earth. A fire burns in the clearing, low and steady, its glow warming the circle of maidens. Their voices rise and fall like the wind. You hear a drum, slow and steady, like a heartbeat beneath the earth. One maiden lifts her hand, scattering herbs into the flames. The smoke curls upward, carrying the fragrance of sage, of juniper, of wildflowers. It drifts toward the sky, and you feel it settle over you like a soft veil. Peaceful, protective, endless. Another maiden dips her hands into a bowl of water, lifting droplets into the fire. Steam rises, hissing gently, glowing in the firelight like silver mist. She whispers a blessing, and though her words are soft, you feel them echo within you, like water finding hidden roots. The night deepens and stars gather. The maiden's songs grow slower, their voices merging with the hush of the forest. You feel yourself swaying with them, your breath steady, your heart calm. The goddess is here, not in form, but in presence. She is in the warmth of the fire, the scent of the herbs, the rhythm of the drum, the quiet strength of the women who sing. Freya watches. Freya weeps. Freya blesses. The forest rests now, and so do the maidens. Their wreaths drift upon the water. Their voices fade into silence. Their fire burns low, glowing like an ember, like a heart at rest. The goddess remains, her light hidden but unbroken. She is the thread that binds the night. She is the tear that nourishes the earth. She is the joy that returns when morning breaks. Now let yourself drift with them, into the quiet forest, into the circle of fire, into the presence of the goddess who knows both love and loss. The pine trees breathe around you. The stars lean close above you. The river carries your wishes onward. Now rest as the forest rests. Now breathe as the earth breathes. Now sleep as the goddess keeps watch. Let us drift onward. Let us drift into peace. The night opens like a quiet book. The moon, pale and round, glows above distant mountains. Its light falls across wide rivers, across desert stones, across gardens where jasmine blooms in silence. A breeze carries the fragrance of roses, mingling with the soft hum of water flowing through carved channels of ancient fountains. The world breathes slowly here, between Persia and India, where old stories sleep beneath stars. In this land of flowing waters and hidden fire, women once gathered as keepers of the sacred. They were called the Pearl Bearers. Their lives were woven into prayer, into offering, into song. They served not by sword or throne, but by devotion. They poured their hearts into the hands of goddesses whose presence shimmered in water and in light. One goddess was Anahita, Lady of the Rivers, of healing streams, of purity and grace. Her temples rose beside springs and rivers, where her waters sparkled with sunlight. Another was Shakti, the boundless power that pulses in every star, every breath, every birth. Shakti was the mother force, the heartbeat of the cosmos, the endless flame within the human soul. The pearl bearers moved between these two presences, carrying water in bowls, carrying fire in lamps, carrying pearls in their hands as symbols of purity, wisdom, and eternal light. The forests of Persia held sacred groves, where cypress trees leaned tall and still. The plains of India bloomed with lotus ponds, each flower a mirror of the heavens. Between these places, women gathered in circles. They wore garments light as dawn. Their hair was crowned with flowers, with shells, with strands of pearls that caught the moonlight. They walked softly, their feet bare upon the earth. In their hands they carried small vessels filled with river water, collected at sunrise. They poured this water upon stones carved with symbols, upon altars woven with flowers, upon statues of the goddesses. Each drop was a prayer, each offering a bridge between human longing and divine presence. The sound of water pouring was itself a hymn. It was gentle, like the breath of a child, like rain falling upon leaves. The women believed that each drop carried healing, carried memory, carried blessing. To pour water was to return a gift. To offer water was to open a path. Pearls were their second treasure. In the dark depths of rivers and seas, pearls were born from hidden patience. A grain of sand entered a shell, and slowly, over time, the creature wrapped it in layers of shining softness until a jewel was formed. The women saw themselves in this. Their sorrows, their burdens, their quiet endurance, all were transformed into pearls within the soul. So they carried pearls to the goddess. They strung them into garlands, they placed them in bowls of water, they held them up to the light of the moon. Each pearl was a prayer made visible, a tear turned into light. Anahita was the goddess of waters, flowing and pure. Her name meant immaculate. She was imagined riding in a chariot drawn by 4 horses, wind, rain, cloud, and snow. In her hands she carried water, the giver of life. The pearl bearers whispered her name as they poured their offerings. They asked her to bless their families, their children, their villages. They asked her to carry their sorrow into the endless river of time, to return it as peace. Shakti was not water, but fire. She was energy itself, the dance of stars, the rising of mountains, the pulse within the human heart. To Shakti, the women lit lamps filled with oil. They placed the lamps upon water, letting them float like golden stars across the dark surface of ponds. As the flames drifted, the night seemed alive. The sky mirrored upon the earth. The pearl-bearers sang softly as they released the lamps. Their songs rose into the air like smoke, curling upward, carrying devotion. The words were simple, the tones low and steady. Each note was like a step into calm. Each verse was like a hand reaching upward. One story told of a maiden who kept a single pearl close to her heart. Her village was struck by drought. Rivers dried and the earth cracked. She walked far to the temple of Anahita, carrying her pearl as an offering. Standing before the goddess's spring, she dropped the pearl into the water. It sank slowly, gleaming until it was lost in the depths. That night clouds gathered and rain began to fall. The earth drank deeply and life returned. The people said it was the gift of the maiden's pearl, the gift of her pure heart. In India, another tale was whispered. A woman carried water from the Ganges at dawn, walking miles with her vessel balanced upon her head. She offered it to the image of Shakti, saying nothing. But as she placed the vessel down, she saw light bloom across the surface of the water. The goddess appeared, not in form, but in presence. A warmth, a stillness, a glow. The woman felt her sorrows fall away like shadows before the sun. From then on, she carried water not as a burden, but as a blessing. The pearl-bearers lived in both worlds, the outer world of rivers, of fire, of gardens and sky, and the inner world of longing, of faith, of visions that glowed within silence. Their devotion was not loud. It was soft, like a whisper that lingers. They did not seek crowns or victories. They sought harmony, between earth and water, between body and spirit, between human and divine. Now imagine yourself among them. You walk beside a river at twilight. The air is warm, scented with jasmine and rose. The sky glows deep blue and the first stars begin to show. Ahead, a circle of women stands, their garments flowing like river mist. Each holds a small lamp. Each carries a pearl in her hand. The river is calm, its surface smooth as glass. The women kneel and lower their lamps onto the water. The flames drift slowly, their reflections dancing. The river becomes a pathway of stars. The night is silent except for the quiet hum of their song. One woman steps forward and drops her pearl into the water. It sinks, glowing faintly, vanishing into the deep. Yet its presence lingers, as though the river itself now carries her prayer. You feel a stillness surround you. The fire of Shakti warms the night. The water of Anahita soothes the earth. You are between flame and stream, between pearl and star, between offering and blessing. The women's song grows softer now. The lamps drift farther, their light dimming as the river bends away. The air cools, carrying the fragrance of night flowers. The moon rises higher, calm and round. The pearl-bearers bow their heads. They rest their hands upon their hearts. The ritual is complete. Yet the peace remains, flowing like water, glowing like fire, resting like a pearl in the silence of the night. Now let your breath move gently, like the river. Let your thoughts drift, like the lamps upon the water. Let your heart rest, like the pearl held in still hands. The goddesses remain, though unseen. They are the presence in the flowing streams. They are the warmth in the hidden fire. They are the peace within your chest. Now rest, as the pearl-bearers rest. Now breathe, as the waters breathe. Now sleep, as the flames sleep. Let us drift onward. Let us drift into peace. The night stretches wide, like a velvet cloak drawn over the earth. Stars gather above, scattered like silver dust across a deep sky. The moon hangs low, calm and pale, spilling soft light upon the stones of an ancient path. The air is still, touched only by the whisper of wind moving through trees. Somewhere in the distance, a slow drumbeat sounds, steady and low, like the quiet rhythm of a heart. It is here, beneath such skies, that the silent sisters once gathered, women bound not by walls or kings, but by trust. Their voices were hushed, their eyes bright with secrets older than memory. They were keepers of mysteries, guardians of knowledge whispered only beneath starlight. The world outside knew little of them, for their power lived in silence. Their vows were spoken not in shouts, but in breaths, not in daylight, but in the tender stillness of the night. The sisters walked softly, cloaked in shadow. Their steps were light, like feathers brushing the earth. They carried no banners, no weapons, no crowns. Instead, they carried memory. They carried trust. They carried the weight of unseen truths. In caves, in groves, in hidden halls carved beneath temples, they gathered. Their rituals were wrapped in silence, save for the crackle of a single flame or the faint splash of water poured from hand to hand. Silence was their language. In silence, they found strength. They believed that silence was not emptiness. Silence was fullness. It was the vessel that held the sacred. Words might scatter like leaves in the wind, but silence endured. It was the soil from which all truth grew. At the heart of their gatherings stood the flame, a lamp simple in shape filled with oil. Its light flickered upon the stone, painting soft shadows across the faces of those gathered. To the sisters, the flame was the voice of the divine. Where words would break, the flame would speak. Its glow was their guide, its warmth their teacher. Each sister approached the flame with bowed head, carrying a token of her devotion. Some brought flowers, fresh and fragrant. Some carried smooth stones from rivers polished by water and time. Others held small vessels of honey or milk, simple gifts of sweetness. They placed these offerings around the flame, circling it as stars circle the moon. And then together, they stood in silence. Not a word was spoken. Yet in that silence, all hearts beat as one. Their myths told of women who spoke with the stars. On certain nights, when the moon was new and the sky dark, they lifted their hands upward, palms open, waiting. They said the stars themselves were the eyes of goddesses, watching over them, sending wisdom as light. Some sisters swore they felt that light settle upon their skin like dew. Others whispered that the stars entered their dreams, weaving visions that guided them. The silence was never empty. It was alive. It held the rustle of leaves, the breath of wind, the sigh of the earth itself. The sisters listened, and in listening, they learned. Trust bound them together. What was spoken beneath the stars never left their circle. Secrets were treasures, carried close to the heart. In this way, they created a sanctuary, not of stone or wood, but of faith, a place where each woman was safe to dream, to pray, to hold mysteries without fear. Some said they guarded knowledge of healing herbs, roots, and blossoms that eased pain and brought sleep. Others believed they held songs, old and unbroken, that carried blessings when sung to newborns or the dying. Still others whispered that they knew of the soul's journey beyond death, guiding spirits with unseen hands. But the true secret of the sisters was gentler still, the power of silence itself. A gift so rare, yet so needed. For in silence the heart could hear. In silence the soul could rest. Imagine standing among them now. You step softly across cool stone into a hidden chamber lit only by a single flame. The air is scented with herbs, sage, lavender, a trace of rose. Around you, women stand in a circle, their eyes lowered, their hands resting calmly against their hearts. The flame flickers. Shadows dance slowly across the walls, like silent storytellers moving in rhythm with the light. No words pass between the sisters, yet their presence surrounds you like a gentle embrace. You are safe here, safe in silence. Safe in trust, your breath slows, you listen. You hear the quiet drip of water from a hidden spring. You hear the soft crackle of oil feeding the flame. You hear the faint beating of your own heart. In this silence, nothing is missing. In this silence, all is complete. Stories say that on nights of great storms, when thunder rolled across the heavens, the sisters gathered to keep the flame alive. Rain might fall, winds might howl, yet the flame endured. Each woman took her turn shielding it with her hands, protecting it with her body until dawn returned. For them, the flame was not only light, it was hope. As long as it burned, the world could not be swallowed by darkness. And so it was that silence, trust, and flame became their three treasures. Silence, the vessel of wisdom. Trust, the bond that held them together. Flame, the breath of the divine. Some tales tell of a single sister who strayed into the forest at night. She carried the flame in a small lamp, cupping it close as she walked. The trees rose tall around her, their branches swaying like dark wings. She came upon a clearing where the stars glowed clear above. There she placed the lamp upon the ground and sat beside it. The silence deepened. She felt the earth beneath her palms, steady and alive. She felt the cool night air upon her skin, soft as silk. She felt the light of the stars upon her eyes, shimmering like pearls. And in that silence she felt no fear. She felt herself held, surrounded, blessed. The story says that when she returned, her lamp still burned, and her eyes carried the light of the stars. The silent sisters were never many. Their circles were small, their presence hidden. Yet their memory lingers, in every quiet prayer spoken before sleep, in every flame lit gently in the dark, in every moment when silence brings peace. Now, as the night deepens, let yourself drift into their silence. Imagine the circle of sisters standing calm beneath the stars. See the flame glowing softly at the center. Feel the stillness wide and safe. Let silence cradle you like gentle hands. Let trust surround you like a cloak of warmth. Let the flame of the divine rest within your heart. Now the stars return. Now the sisters fade into shadow. Now the silence remains. Rest as the flame rests. Sleep as the night sleeps. Let us drift onward, into stillness, into peace. Beneath the veil of night, when the world lies quiet and the sea holds its breath, a soft shape drifts across the heavens. It is the dove, pale as the moon, wings glowing faintly in the silver light. Her flight is gentle, almost dreamlike, as though the air itself cradles her. She carries no weight of war, no cry of alarm, only stillness, only peace. In the lands of the Phoenicians, where the salt winds touched every stone and ships carried dreams across restless waters, the dove was more than a bird. She was a sign, a blessing, a whisper from the goddess Astarte. She carried in her wings the promise of life and the calm of love. Those who saw her upon the rooftops or watched her settle in olive groves believed that the goddess had passed close, invisible, yet present. The night draws us near to those shores. The stars above hang heavy, each one a lamp burning quietly in the dome of heaven. The waters below shimmer as if made of liquid pearl, and upon this sea, where cedar ships once sailed, you drift, carried softly, slowly, as if on the breath of the goddess herself. Astarte was honored where rivers met the sea, in cities alive with the glow of lamps, and in quiet groves where fig trees leaned into shadow. She was the goddess of fertility, of love, of the eternal rhythm of life that springs from the earth and returns to it again. Her presence was not fierce, but tender, not a flame that devours, but a flame that warms and protects. And her companion, the dove, was her messenger. It fluttered above the altars. It nested near her temples. It was the living sign that she was close, watching, blessing, waiting. Imagine the temple courtyards at dusk. Torches flicker low, their fire bending with the sea wind. Women bring baskets of fruit, garlands of flowers, and bowls of fragrant oil. Children carry bread baked fresh from the hearth. The people move slowly, their voices hushed, as if the very air requires reverence. High upon the temple wall, a row of doves sits, white and still, their feathers glowing in the twilight. And when the prayers rise, so too do the birds, taking flight all at once, circling above the city like pieces of the moon set free. The dove carried many meanings, each one gentle, each one soft as a breath. It was love that bound hearts together. It was the peace that followed storms. It was the seed waiting in the soil, the child waiting in the womb, the soft light that returns after darkness. It was the small reminder that even in a world of noise and struggle, stillness could be found. The Phoenician sailors carried this symbol far across the sea. On their ships carved from cedar wood, painted with colors bright and strange, they placed the dove upon their prows, a guide for their journeys. They believed that the dove would lead them home when the waves grew wild and the stars hid their paths. And indeed, in the soft rhythm of waves and the cry of seabirds, they often found peace again, trusting that Astarte's presence stretched far beyond the temple walls. From Sidon to Tyre, from Byblos to the islands beyond, the dove flew in story and symbol. Her wings reached even to Cyprus, where another goddess of love, Aphrodite, was honored in much the same way. The dove, gentle and constant, crossed kingdoms and languages. No border could contain her. No land could claim her for itself. She belonged to the heart of the human spirit, wherever people longed for love and rest. In gardens shaded by cypress trees, children watched the doves flutter low, cooing softly among the branches. Their sound was not sharp, not loud, but tender, as if the earth itself whispered a lullaby. The children would scatter grains and the birds would gather soft wings brushing the soil. For the Phoenicians, such simple moments were also sacred. The dove was never far from ordinary life. It was both divine and familiar, both heavenly and near. In the myths told beneath starlight, Astarte sometimes appeared herself with wings of a dove. Her robe shone like dawn, but her presence was calm, not blinding. She would come to bless lovers, to heal sorrow, to grant fruit to the barren field. And when she departed, she left behind the flutter of wings, the drifting call of a bird in the twilight. The dove also bore a secret meaning of renewal. When rains had ended and floods receded, people watched for the dove. Her return to the earth meant safety, the beginning of life again. She was the sign of return, of the world finding balance after chaos. And so she became not only a symbol of Astarte's love, but also of the earth's unending promise to heal. Drift now into the sound of those wings. Imagine their softness, brushing through air like silk drawn across skin. Their rhythm is steady, not hurried. They rise and fall as waves do, as your breath does. Every feather carries the weight of quiet blessing. Every movement carries the memory of the goddess who touched the sea, the sky, and the heart of humankind. In time, stories of the dove traveled beyond Phoenician shores. They found their way into other myths, other lands. Some called the bird the bringer of messages. Others saw it as the keeper of sacred union, the small spirit that joined lovers in peace. Even in far deserts, even in places where the sea could not be seen, the dove appeared in carvings, in songs, in gentle prayers whispered at night. Its meaning never grew harsh, never grew heavy. Always it remained soft, always it remained pure. And so the dove is remembered still, its wings brushing through the centuries, its presence unchanged. Close your eyes and imagine standing in the courtyard of an ancient temple. The air smells of cedar smoke and crushed myrrh. The stars lean close, their light soft as silver dust. A single dove lands upon the stone before you, tilts its head, and coos. In that sound is a message older than kingdoms, older than temples, older than stone itself. It says only, peace, rest, love. Now let the temple fade. Let the sea return. You float once more upon calm waters, the stars above a ceiling of stillness. The dove flies before you, her wings leading you gently onward. She does not rush, for there is no need. She moves as the world moves when it remembers its peace. Your breath matches her flight. Slow, steady, soft. And in this moment, you are carried by the same blessing the Phoenicians once knew. You are held by the same peace that once filled courtyards of stone, that once filled gardens of fig and cypress, that once filled the hearts of sailors watching the horizon. The dove flies still, and her wings cover the world in quiet love. Let the night draw its curtain now. Let the winds fall silent. Let the stars shine gently over you. The dove circles once, then glides into the distance, her form fading into the glow of moonlight. Her blessing remains quiet as your own heartbeat, eternal as the sea. Rest now in her peace. Rest now in her love. And let the night carry you deeper into calm. The stars return. The silence deepens. The story softens into sleep. Night unfolds like a soft veil, drifting slowly across the world. The stars awaken one by one, scattered lanterns hung in the silence of the sky. The air is still, touched only by the faint hush of wind moving through branches. And somewhere, deep in the folds of time, forgotten sanctuaries glow faintly in the dark. Here, the dream weavers once lived. They were women of silence and song, keepers of visions, guardians of dreams. By day they were unseen, their sanctuaries hidden among groves and caves, where ivy crept across stone and spring sang quietly to themselves. But by night, when sleep fell upon humankind, their work began. They touched the threads of dream as gently as one touches a harp. They wove images of peace, of guidance, of hidden truths. They shaped the shadows of night into gentle stories that drifted through the minds of those who sought them. In the ancient world, sleep was not only rest, it was a door. To dream was to step into another chamber of the soul, where voices from beyond could be heard, where the divine could whisper without the noise of daylight. The dream weavers were those who guarded this passage. They knew the secret paths where dreams were born. They tended them as one tends a garden, removing fear, planting symbols, allowing beauty to bloom in the soft dark. Imagine one of their sanctuaries. It lies hidden in a valley, where the hills close around like gentle arms. A stream flows nearby, its water silver under the moon. At the center stands a stone hall, open to the sky, where vines hang down and lamps glow with the steady flame of oil. It is quiet, so quiet that you can hear the wings of moths brushing the air. This is where seekers came. travelers, kings, and the humble alike, any who longed for guidance. They would lie upon woven mats of reeds, close their eyes, and wait for dreams to carry messages beyond the veil. The dream weavers would move softly among them. Their steps made no sound. Their voices were low, melodic, like streams moving over smooth stone. They sang to call the dreams closer. They whispered words so old that their meaning was less important than their rhythm, a lullaby that coaxed the spirit away from waking thought. Dreams, they believed, were not random. They were threads of a great loom woven by unseen hands. Symbols were the language of this loom. A river flowing endlessly could mean renewal. A bird rising from shadow could mean freedom. A tree heavy with fruit could mean life returning after sorrow. The dreamweavers knew how to read these images. They listened not only with the ear but with the heart. They could take a single image from a night of visions and unfold it into guidance that stretched across an entire life. Sometimes, a seeker dreamed of walking through endless corridors, doors opening and closing without end. The dreamweavers would say it was the spirit searching, longing to choose its true path. Sometimes one dreamed of standing upon an empty shore, waves rising high but never touching the sand. That meant the soul had fears waiting at the edge of life, yet no harm would come if courage was kept. Each dream was a message, tenderly hidden in story. Each dream was a gift, shaped to guide the restless heart. Drift deeper now. Imagine yourself within that sanctuary, lying upon soft mats, the air cool with night, the sky open above. The dream weavers move around you, their robes whispering as they pass. They carry bowls of herbs, lavender, myrrh, and wild mint. The smoke rises in slow spirals, calming the breath, loosening the mind from its tight hold. One of them hums, her voice low and steady, like the earth itself speaking. Her song is not to awaken, but to ease you deeper, deeper into calm, deeper into rest, deeper into dream. The sanctuary begins to shift, not with noise, but with silence, not with movement, but with stillness. The edges of waking blur. The body feels heavy, safe, held by unseen arms. And slowly, gently, images rise. A river, a star, a bird. The threads of dream begin to weave themselves. The dreamweavers also believed that dreams connected the living with those who had passed beyond. The voices of ancestors could speak through them. The presence of loved ones could return in the stillness of night. Many seekers came not for guidance in life, but to feel once more the closeness of someone gone. And often in the quiet, such dreams came. A mother's hand touching the shoulder, a friend's laughter heard across a meadow. The dreamweavers did not call this illusion. They called it memory's true form, reaching out across the veil. To dream was to remember with the heart, not the mind. Sometimes they spoke of the loom of the heavens. They said that stars were the knots of this great tapestry, glowing points where dreams were tied to eternity. When you dreamed of a star, they said, you touched that place in the sky where your own story was fastened. And when you dreamed of the night sea, it was the soul remembering its passage, drifting across waters that stretched between the worlds. Listen now to the hush of their sanctuary. The flame of oil lamps sways with the breeze. The coo of nightbirds drifts from the grove. The dreamweavers sit in silence, waiting, not with impatience, but with trust. They know that dreams will come. They always come, as certain as the tide, as gentle as the dawn. For them, the work was not in forcing visions, but in opening the space for visions to arrive. Like gardeners of the unseen, they prepared the soil of the spirit, cleared the stones of fear, watered the earth with calm. Then they allowed the dreams to grow in their own time, their own form. Nothing hurried, nothing heavy, only the natural unfolding of rest. Stories tell of kings who came to these sanctuaries before making great choices. Some dreamed of golden lions, and the dreamweavers said strength would rise to meet them. Some dreamed of broken swords, and they were told to seek peace instead of war. But just as often, the humblest traveler came, a farmer who wished for rain, a mother who longed for her child to be healed. For each the dreams came, and the dreamweavers listened with the same care. For them, every dream, no matter how small, was sacred. And so the sanctuaries became places of deep trust, not because of walls or guards, but because of the quiet faith that in dreams, truth was always near. Let your own breath match the rhythm of their silence. Slow in, like a wave touching shore. Slow out, like a wave drifting away again. Each breath is a thread. Each thought is a knot tied gently into the loom of the night. The dreamweavers lean closer, not to wake you, but to guide your sleep. They place symbols in the quiet of your mind, a dove gliding low, A river turning silver, a star flickering far above. These symbols carry you onward. They carry you deeper, not into noise but into rest, not into struggle but into calm. The dreamweavers themselves were said to dream while awake. When their eyes closed, they saw beyond the walls of stone, beyond the grove, beyond even the sea. They drifted into visions, walking paths of light where gods and spirits passed. They brought back what they saw, shaping it into words, into songs, into the dreams of others. In this way, they became bridges, bridges of silence, bridges of peace. They stood between worlds, and through them, the seekers found their way. The night grows deeper now. The stars press closer, brighter yet softer. The sanctuary fades, as sanctuaries always do when sleep takes hold. But the dreamweavers remain, not as figures you can see, but as a gentle presence moving through the air. They weave even now, shaping threads of dream to carry you farther, to hold you safely as you drift. Rest, they say. Rest, for the dream is already here. Rest, for the night has opened its arms. And so you float, no longer in stone halls, but in the wide sky itself. You drift upon the loom of night, every star a knot, every breath a thread. The dreamweavers hum softly, their song endless, their work eternal. You are part of their weaving now. Your sleep is a sacred cloth, unfolding in silence, shimmering with peace. Let the night deepen. Let the stars return. Let the dream carry you gently onward. The dreamweavers remain, silent, steady, eternal, and you rest in their hands. The night opens like a wide horizon. A hush settles over the sea, where waves move with steady rhythm, rising and falling like the breath of the earth itself. The moon lays her silver path upon the waters, guiding eyes and hearts into calm. Far away, the voices of gulls soften into memory, fading with the tide. It is here, where land meets the deep, that the ocean mothers are remembered. They are not one, but many. Across coasts and islands, from the sands of Africa to the harbors of Greece, from India's shores to the distant islands of the Pacific, women of the waters were honored. They were seen as protectors, as givers, as mothers. The ocean mothers held the secrets of the tides, the treasures of the deeps, the pearls of the hidden world. To the sailors who set out upon uncertain waves, they were hope. To those who returned, they were gratitude. And to all who stood before the waters, they were comfort, as eternal as the sea itself. Imagine standing upon an ancient shore. The sand is cool beneath bare feet. The tide slides forward, then slips back, carrying whispers as soft as sighs. Small lamps flicker along the waterline. They are offerings, tiny flames placed upon floating leaves or carved shells, set adrift to honor the ocean mothers. The lamps bob gently, carrying prayers into the dark. Some for safe journeys, some for loved ones, some for peace within the heart. Fishermen would come at dawn, bowing low before casting their nets, murmuring thanks to the sea that fed them. Women waiting for their husbands and sons lit candles and whispered to the waters for protection. Children, curious and wide-eyed, dropped flowers into the tide, believing the ocean mothers gathered them in woven baskets of foam. The sea, after all, is both giving and taking. It can cradle a boat with calm waves or pull it into storms. And so, to balance this vast force, people turned to the ocean mothers, divine women who could calm the tempests, who could guide lost ships, who could bless the pearls and fish and treasures brought ashore. In the east, Anahita, goddess of flowing waters, was honored as one who gave life to rivers and seas. Her temples rang with soft prayers. Her name carried like a stream into the salt air. In Greece, Amphitrite, the queen of the sea, stood beside Poseidon, yet carried her own deep mystery, her gaze endless as the waves. In Yoruba lands, across the western coasts of Africa, Yamaya rose as a mother of oceans, her blue skirts made of tides, her embrace holding both birth and healing. And across India, Shakti was felt even in the waters, her energy dancing with each wave, her spirit alive in the endless churn of creation. Different names, different coasts, yet always the same heartbeat. The sea as mother, the sea as guide, the sea as eternal giver of life. The ocean mothers were also keepers of pearl. To ancient eyes, the pearl was more than beauty. It was a secret of patience born in silence, shaped slowly in darkness. From a grain of sand, the pearl grew, hidden within the shell, until one day it emerged, gleaming, smooth, complete. So too did the ocean mothers shape the lives of those who called to them, They reminded humankind that out of sorrow, out of trial, something precious could be formed. A pearl within the spirit, a light within the shadow. Some told stories of women who walked into the sea with grief too heavy to bear, and the ocean mothers caught them, not with hands, but with calm. When these women returned, they carried pearls in their palms, gifts of healing, reminders that nothing was lost forever. Every tide that left would one day return. Every sorrow that sank would one day shine. Listen now to the sound of the waves. They move without hurry, without end. The tide pulls back, leaving shells upon the sand. A conch, smooth and spiraled. A fragment of coral, bright as dawn. A piece of driftwood polished by years of wandering. Each one is a message, each one a story. For the ocean mothers spoke not always in words, but in gifts placed quietly along the shore. Travelers would bend to pick up these treasures, holding them close, pressing them to their hearts. Some believed the shells held whispers. If you listened, you could hear the ocean mothers singing within, and always, always the song was gentle. A lullaby carried from wave to wave, from coast to coast. By night, rituals unfolded. Imagine the shore lit by countless small fires, the air thick with incense and salt. Women stood in circles, their arms raised, their voices weaving chants that echoed with the rhythm of waves. Their songs did not command the sea, nor beg, but praised. Praised the endlessness of water. Praised the mystery of depths unseen. Praised the ocean mothers who carried both life and death, both joy and sorrow within their embrace. Sometimes, dancers moved like waves themselves, their feet tracing patterns in the sand, their hands flowing like foam. Every movement a prayer, every step a devotion. When the drums slowed, the women placed offerings into the tide. Milk, honey, flowers, even strands of their own hair. The sea took them gently, carrying them out into the dark, where the ocean mothers waited. Now, close your eyes in this story. Hear the water rolling, steady, calm. Feel the cool breath of night along your skin. The sea stretches before you, endless, shining under the moon. And from its depths a presence rises, not frightening but comforting. A vast embrace, soft as foam, steady as tide. It is the ocean mothers. Not one face, not one name, but a presence as old as time, as boundless as the sea. They speak not in words, but in calm. Their message is carried in the hush of waves, in the lull of distant surf. It says, rest, you are held, you are carried. The tide will never leave you. In many lands, children were told bedtime tales of these mothers, that Yamaya swam beside their boats, brushing storms aside with her skirts of blue. That Amphitrite stirred pearls from the deep, leaving them where children might find them. That Anahida's waters washed away fear, leaving only clear streams of peace. And so the little ones slept, dreaming of gentle oceans, their spirits rocked upon waves of safety. The ocean mothers in every form were always this comfort. They were the reminder that though seas may rise, though storms may roar, there is always calm after. The waves return. The tide comes back. The sea forever embraces its shores. Drift deeper now. The sanctuary of the ocean mothers is not a temple of stone, but this very night, sky reflected in water. The stars above and the stars below meet upon the horizon, and between them you drift. Their song hums softly around you, steady as a cradle. You are afloat, yet safe. You are adrift, yet guided. The sea carries you not away, but inward. Inward to peace. Inward to sleep. Inward to the hidden pearl of calm that waits within you. Let the waves move on. Let the tide drop back. Let the lamps of prayer drift farther into the night. The ocean mothers remain, watching, guiding, soothing. Their arms are tides, their breath is mist, their lullaby is the hush of waves against the shore. Rest now as they carry you. Rest as the moonlight softens upon the sea. Rest as the stars return one by one to their silent places in the sky. The ocean mothers hold you. The ocean mothers rock you. The ocean mothers whisper to you, sleep, child of the tide. Sleep, pearl of the night. The night drapes softly, like a great cloak woven of silence and stars. The air is still, touched only by the faint breath of distant winds. Somewhere a torch burns. Its flame sways gently, not fierce, but steady. Its glow is golden like a lantern hung between worlds. It is this flame, this light beyond the veil, that has long guided souls through the passage from shadow into dawn. In the ancient world, death was not seen as an ending. It was a doorway veiled by mystery, guarded by silence. To step through was to enter a great corridor where shadows lingered and echoes softened. And in that threshold, the presence of women appeared. Sacred torchbearers, mothers of light, guardians of the passage. They held the flame high so that no soul would wander blind. They carried songs upon their lips so that no heart would tremble in the dark. Across lands and cultures, their names changed, but their purpose was the same. In Greece, they were seen in the mysteries of Eleusis, where women carried torches through midnight rituals, guiding initiates toward visions of rebirth. In Rome, the Vestal virgins tended the sacred fire, keeping the eternal flame alive, believed to guard the fate of the city itself. In Egypt, priestesses lifted lamps in funerary rites, helping the departed find the path to Osiris's field of peace. And in the shadowed halls of India's temples, women carried oil lamps, offering their light as prayers to guide both gods and mortals through unseen crossings. These women were not warriors, nor rulers of land. Their power was quieter, their strength was light itself. And in their hands, the torch became more than fire. It was the promise that no soul would be left alone in the dark. Imagine now a procession at twilight. The earth is cool beneath your feet, the air fragrant with smoke and herbs. A long line of women walks slowly forward, each carrying a torch. Their white garments move with the wind, their steps soundless upon the earth. One by one, their torches ignite the path, like stars brought down from the heavens. The flames flicker softly, and shadows retreat. They do not hurry. Every step is measured, every breath in harmony with the night. Some sing low hymns, voices weaving with the crackle of fire. Others hum, their tones like lullabies, soothing the space between this world and the next. The torches glow like guiding stars, and the passage before you no longer feels heavy with fear, but gentle, like walking into dawn. The veil, it was said, is not a wall, but a curtain, thin as mist, soft as silk, drifting between realms of life and death. And though the living cannot see beyond it, the torchbearers could. They stood at the edge of both worlds, eyes reflecting the flame they carried. To them, the veil was no barrier but a doorway, and beyond that doorway lay fields of light, rivers of calm, a rising sun that never faded. For the torchbearers, the flame was not just fire. It was memory, it was hope, it was the soul itself. Just as a torch carries light through the night, so too does the soul carry its light through the passage of death. The women who bore the torches reminded the living of this truth, that no flame, once kindled, is ever truly lost. In Greece, the Eleusinian mysteries told a story of descent and return. Persephone, the maiden, was taken into the underworld. Her mother, Demeter, wandered the earth in grief, carrying torches as she searched for her daughter. And when Persephone returned, bringing springtime once more, the torches became symbols of hope, light guiding through darkness, life returning after loss. The women who enacted these rites did so with care, their torches lifting not only fire, but also faith. For every soul that faced the unknown, there was always a torch to lead them forward. In Egypt, the goddess Hathor was called the Lady of the West, who welcomed souls into the afterlife. Priestesses bearing lamps would stand at tombs, offering light to ease the journey. The flicker of flame was seen as a hand extended, a promise that death was not a lonely road. And in Rome, the Vestals who guarded the flame were believed to hold the fate of the city in their keeping. So long as their fire burned, the people were safe. So long as light remained, darkness would never prevail. Light has always been a gentle teacher. A single candle can hold back the night. A single flame can warm the coldest room. And a single torch, raised by sacred hands, can guide countless souls across the shadowed veil. Imagine now, a soul standing at the edge of that passage. Behind them, life has quieted. Before them, the veil shimmers like mist. The air is heavy with silence, but then in the distance, a soft glow appears. It grows brighter, warmer, closer. A woman steps forward, her torch raised. Her face is calm, her presence steady. No words are needed. Her light is enough. The soul takes a step forward, then another. The flame leads the way, gentle, unhurried, and soon the veil is behind them, and before them stretches a horizon of light without end. To the ancients, death was not feared when the torchbearers stood close. Their presence was reassurance, their songs like blankets for the heart. Even now their story lingers. For when one lights a candle for the departed, when one sets a lantern afloat upon water, it is the same gesture. a remembrance of the torchbearers, of the women who carried the light beyond the veil. The flame itself carries messages. The wavering glow reminds us that life is fragile, but still radiant. The steady heat reminds us that strength need not roar. The smoke that rises reminds us that all things return to the sky, and the light that lingers reminds us that nothing truly ends, only changes. Rest now with this thought: every soul carries its own torch. Within each heart, a small flame glows, quiet but enduring. When shadows fall, that flame remembers. When veils descend, that flame rises. And when the torchbearers appear, they do not give their light, but awaken the light already within. The eternal dawn waits beyond the veil. Not a harsh dawn, not a blinding one, but soft and golden, like the first light of morning spilling over still waters. It is peace made visible. It is rest without end. The night deepens. The stars above are steady, quiet guardians. The flame in the torch sways, its glow warming the path. The women who carry it walk without haste. Their faces calm, their voices low. They are endless as the sea, eternal as the stars, gentle as the breath of dawn. They wait at every threshold. They wait for every soul. And always, always they carry the light. Let us drift onward now. The torches grow softer, their glow merging with the light of the moon. The veil shimmers faintly like morning mist. The air is still, the silence vast, yet tender. The passage is open, and the torchbearers walk ahead. Rest now, as their flames flicker in your mind. Rest, as the night folds gently around you. Rest as the veil grows thin, and the light beyond shines steady and calm. The torchbearers are near. Their light is with you, and the eternal dawn waits. Night rests softly upon the world. The stars above shimmer like scattered embers across a velvet sky. The air is hushed, gentle as a whisper. Somewhere, far in memory yet close to the heart, a flame flickers. It is not fierce nor wild. It is calm, steady, eternal. This is the feminine flame, carried across centuries, across oceans, across dreams. It burns still, warming every soul that drifts near. In every land, in every age, there were women who carried this light. Sometimes they stood in temples, dressed in white, guarding sacred fires. Sometimes they walked among the people, healers and mothers, holding quiet wisdom. Sometimes they appeared in story and myth, clothed in starlight, bearing torches, lamps, or candles. Always they carried the same gift: the flame of care, the flame of renewal, the flame of hope. This flame was not like ordinary fire. It did not scorch. It did not consume. Instead, it gave warmth. It gave safety. It gave comfort to those who trembled at the edge of night. Across the great deserts, priestesses lit lamps that shone at twilight, guiding caravans and pilgrims. Along the seas, women offered fire to the waters so that sailors might find their way home. In mountain caves, mothers lit candles for the departed, believing the small light could guide them through the shadows. Everywhere the flame was the same: gentle, enduring, a bridge between the mortal and the divine. The ancients saw this flame as more than fire. It was the breath of the goddess, the heart of the mother, the soul of the eternal feminine.
In Mesopotamia, women tended the hearth of Inanna, where flame and incense rose together as offerings.
In Greece, the Vestals of Hestia kept the eternal fire of the city alive, never letting it fade. In India, lamps were lit for Lakshmi, goddess of abundance, their glow inviting peace and blessing into every home. And in the far northern lands, stories tell of women who kindled fires through endless winters, their flames standing as symbols of life against the snow. The names changed. The altars shifted, but the flame endured. It was always there, passed hand to hand, heart to heart, across generations. Imagine now a circle of women, standing in silence beneath a night sky. Each carries a small torch. Their faces glow softly, shadows dancing at the edges. No words are spoken, for none are needed. They lift their flames together, and in that moment, the darkness folds back. The circle becomes a sun. The circle becomes a beacon. Those who wander, those who search, those who grieve, all find their way by this light. The flame does not belong to one alone. It is shared. It is carried forward by every hand that touches it. Even when the torch of one grows dim, another leans close, offering their fire, and the light is reborn. So it has always been. So it always will be. The eternal feminine flame is also a flame within. It lives quietly in the heart, a small glow that never leaves. It is there in every breath of kindness. It is there in every gesture of care. It is there in the warmth of a mother's embrace, the patience of a healer, the compassion of a friend. It is in the laughter of children, the prayers of the old, the hands that reach out when another stumbles. This flame is not only in temples or myths. It is here, alive in every life, every soul. It waits to be remembered. It waits to be trusted. It waits to guide. Long ago, poets wrote of this flame. They called it the eternal feminine, the presence that draws souls toward harmony, toward peace, toward light. It was not bound by one land or one belief. It appeared wherever hearts turned to love, wherever hope was kindled, wherever care was offered. Some said it was like the moon, pulling the tides, shaping the rhythm of life. Some said it was like the sun, rising again and again, no matter how dark the night before. Some said it was like the stars, countless and quiet, each one a flame of remembrance, and all agreed that it was eternal, unbroken, undimmed. Picture now a single candle, its flame steady in the quiet room. Outside the winds may rise, outside the world may shift, but here the flame remains. It bends but does not break. It dances but does not fall. Its glow softens the shadows, reminding you that light always waits. Now imagine many candles, their flames joining together. The room fills with warmth, the air with calm. What was once dark becomes gentle, safe, alive with glow. This is the eternal feminine flame. Never one alone, always many, always shared. At the heart of the flame is care. Not the loud care of speeches or commands, but the quiet care that waits, that listens, that heals. It is the care of pouring water into a thirsty hand, the care of placing food before the hungry, the care of singing a child to sleep, the care of tending a small fire through the long night, so that others may wake to warmth. At the heart of the flame is renewal. It whispers that nothing is ever truly lost, that after winter, spring returns, that after night, morning comes, that after sorrow, peace can be found again. The flame does not erase the dark, but it promises that darkness is never final, and at the heart of the flame is hope, the hope that keeps the soul steady when the path is long, the hope that carries prayers across oceans and deserts, the hope that waits quietly in every heart, ready to rise again with just one spark. The ancients believed that when people slept, their souls traveled far, and in those dream journeys, the flame appeared. Sometimes it was a torch carried by a guiding hand. Sometimes it was a lantern hanging in a distant window. Sometimes it was a star shining in the night sky. Whatever form it took, it always led the dreamer home. Even now, as you rest, the flame is near. It glows in memory. It glows in silence. It glows in the breath that moves gently in and out, steady as the tide. The eternal feminine flame is not bound to temples alone. It lives in every story, every lullaby, every blessing whispered in the night. It lives in you. It warms the heart when it feels cold. It steadies the mind when it drifts. It comforts the soul when it feels lost. And like the women of old, who carried their torches through deserts, through mountains, through the shadowed veil, you too are never without light. The flame is always there, quiet, waiting, alive. The night grows softer now. The stars wheel slowly above, guardians of silence. The wind is gentle, moving like a lullaby through unseen trees. The flame flickers, warm and steady, its glow calming the heart. Let the eternal feminine flame keep you tonight. Let its warmth rest upon your spirit. Let its light guide your dreams toward peace. For the flame has no ending. It has no boundary. It has no death. It burns as it always has, as it always will. Gentle, eternal, alive in every heart. So let us drift onward. Let the flame glow softly in the darkness. Let it guide you to stillness, to safety, to rest. Now close your eyes as the stars return. Now breathe with the tide, with the wind, with the quiet flame. The eternal feminine flame is near. It warms you. It surrounds you. It carries you gently through the night. Rest as the light continues. Rest as the dawn waits beyond. Rest as the eternal flame glows on.